Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be looking at the first round of the XFL Dispersal Draft. Now, the official actual results will not be coming out till Monday, January 8th, on both the XFL and USFL draft, but we have heard reports from guys like James Larsen, XFL Analysis, and many others about certain guys that did get drafted, and one round that we do know in full is the first round of the XFL draft. So without further ado, let's go look at these picks, see who got drafted, and what I think about them. So the first overall pick was to the Arlington Renegades. This was due to an in-season trade that ended up happening with them getting the pick over the Brahmas, and they selected quarterback Lindsey Scott Jr. Now, he comes pretty much just out of college. He has not done anything since his time at Incarnate Ward. He had just signed with the Roughnecks prior to the season actually starting, and, well, prior to this season starting. But the fact is that this is one of the most controversial picks and a really shocking one. As of right now, Luis Perez is still on the Renegades roster, so barring him getting traded or something, they're drafting a quarterback despite them already having one of the best quarterbacks in spring football. This is a very risky move, as there's a lot of great players that the Renegades could have drafted, and they decided to instead go with Lindsey Scott. Very risky pick, but we'll see if it pans out for him. Now, the second overall pick ended up going to the St. Louis Battlehawks, who decided to draft Ja'Cory Pearson, wide receiver. This is elite. They already have Hakeem Butler, who is still on roster. So for the XFL side of it, they already have arguably the best tandem of receivers in the entire UFL, legitimately in the UFL. XFL by far, potentially in the UFL, pending how the USFL draft results go. Ja'Cory Pearson was the number one receiver this past year. He had a lot of offers from CFL teams. The fact that he got drafted makes it seem that he is going to stay here. And going to the Battlehawks is huge. He was the XFL's leader in receptions and yards this past season. He was an elite target for the Dragons. So the Battlehawks getting him is going to be a huge upgrade. And considering how good Butler was last year, getting a guy like this is just, oh man, it's going to be insanely fun to watch. This immediately makes the Battlehawks one of the most fun teams to watch just because of this draft pick. Now, the third overall pick, the DC Defenders drafted Trent Harris, linebacker slash defensive end. Unbelievable great pickup. Trent Harris was elite this past year. He was the league leader in sacks and tied for the lead in TFLs. He was just incredible. This dude could do everything for the Roughnecks. He was a huge reason why that team ended up being so as good as they were. Now, while he wasn't as dominant as we saw Chris Odom in 2022's USFL, this was pretty much as close as you could get to that. I mean, he was insane this past year. The Defenders getting him is going to be an immediate upgrade on their defensive side, and is going to be a huge help to the D-line, and it's going to make the Defenders a very, very scary team up front just because of this one guy. The fact is that this is a huge upgrade. He was one of, if not the best player available. Most people viewed Pearson as the number one player, and there was a very solid argument that Trent Harris was the second best player available in the entire XFL draft. So this is a huge add for Defenders. And the last pick in the first round is the most controversial, and that is because LaRon Stokes, defensive lineman, went to the Arlington Renegades. Now, yes, the Lindsey Scott was controversial, but this one was a really who is what a lot of people saw in the Discord when this was announced and all that. Yeah, fourth overall for LaRon Stokes seems a bit high, if you know what I mean. I feel like there's a lot of other guys you could have drafted ahead of him, but he's not bad by any means. He's a very solid defensive lineman, great defensive tackle. He really is. 9 TFLs this past season, was tied for fourth in the XFL. Though he did only have 2 sacks, he did have 32 total tackles, which, if you know what I talk about with defensive tackles, to be high in tackles is a very, very important stat. It shows you're a great run stopper. So this is definitely a huge add for them. A great add for the Renegades on their defensive line. It just feels that there's a lot of guys they could have gotten instead of him, that he could have fallen to them in the next pick, but it's still a very solid pick. So overall, that'll do it for the XFL's first round of the Dispersal Draft. I will do a full recap of the rest of the draft as well as the USFL draft once we have the official results on Monday. As we've heard a lot of rumors of guys getting drafted. I know recently there was the rumor, I think the report that Chris Blewett got drafted by the Birmingham Stallions, a huge kicker upgrade for them. And there was a lot of other picks in the XFL side, but nothing is official until Monday. This is what we know of so far. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, have a great night.